Rocafort is a communications and entertainment professional with over 28 years of experience in front of the camera and on stage. She's been a member of the Screen Actors Guild since 1993. She's worked in over 200 commercials, produced nationally and internationally. She's been in off-Broadway plays, main stage movies, and she combines her stage and acting experience with conscious communication so that you can stand in your power inside of all of your relationships. Here is Claudia Rocafort.
Thank you, Nancy. It is such a pleasure to be here. I wanted to tell you how I became involved in what I do. And I remember many, many years ago, I was madly in love with a man, and I couldn't understand why it was so difficult when we loved each other so deeply to be able to connect in the process of an argument. Why did we find ourselves in a fight? How could a difference of opinion create such a rift or a disconnect when we couldn't seem to understand each other's point of view or triggers and find a way through it peacefully? I wondered why my family related in ways where we could use words as weapons, where we...
Oops. What happened?
Hurt each other so deeply, and then pretend the next day like nothing had ever happened. I had the hardest time forgetting those words. They were carved into my soul, and I forgave them, but I couldn't forget them. And it was even harder when I had my son. Now I had this beautiful little being, and I couldn't understand how I found myself sometimes repeating those patterns, saying the exact same words that I swore I would never, ever say. How did that happen? How did that come out of me? I knew that the pattern had to stop. I needed that pattern to stop with me, and I needed to somehow find ways to create conscious communication. I found this man that I was introduced to. At the time, I was an actress in New York, and he was a mutual friend. At the time, I was also spending a lot of my time on spiritual development and self-help and growth. And our mutual friend introduced us because he had lost his only son. And we connected on a very deep spiritual, emotional friendship level. I mean, I remember I was sitting in this cafe called 212 in New York City, and it was raining outside. And we finished lunch, we had tea, and the next thing I knew, people were coming into the restaurant for dinner. We had been there for over 6.5 hours. It was just one of those conversations that was so incredibly profound on a personal level, and then also on a professional level. He was a coach, he was an executive coach, he was a communications consultant. And in this process of conversation, he asked me, and he said, you know, would I be willing to try and let him do one session with me? He told me that he thought that I was an innate teacher. And I thought, wow, this is fascinating. Absolutely. Why not? I'd love to try this. Sure enough, I was impassioned by what I saw. He taught me his method. He brought me into his company. And next thing I knew that I was working with him. And he was one of these incredible human beings who had been teaching for 35 years, been working this for 35 years with some of the top 100 Fortune 500 companies. It was such a pleasure and a treat to learn from him. He taught me how important it is what we say, how we say it, and why we say it, so that we begin to become conscious of these things, that we can begin to realize how words have power, how words actually have vibration like emotions, literally like music. You know, we know that music has vibrational waves, sound does. So do words. And those words can be a very low vibration where we hurt each other, where we say these awful things, or we can raise the vibration by the way that we speak. So have you ever found yourself in a relationship where you love someone deeply and you find yourself in the middle of an argument and you can't seem to be able to reconnect, where you're triggering each other? Or professionally, have you ever found yourself with a phenomenal message that you want to share with the world, that you haven't been able to find the context on how to create that message or how to deliver it. And you don't know how to put that message into a context that you'll be able to move your audience. These questions all relate to the way that we communicate. And I would love to invite you into a course that I created precisely about conscious communication and nonviolent communication. How do we create ways to reconnect? How do we begin to understand why the other person may be saying what they're saying, or how not to take certain things personally and look beyond that so that we can choose how we're going to act and the words we're going to choose to create our reality. I would love to offer you this possibility to become more conscious of what you say and how you say it, and to begin to create your reality, both personally and professionally, so that you can create the best connections, the best relationships, and deliver your message with the clarity and the confidence for yourself personally and professionally.